It is go time, and you guys don't understand how pumped I am for this edition. Every Wednesday at 11:30, I come on live to give you a clip, give you just a little snippet of the podcast episode that we're going to release at 12 o'clock. Principles of Winning. Every Wednesday at 12 o'clock, we will release a episode this week. So I'm going to jump right into it. This week, we have my man, Timothy Parker. Timothy Parker is the Chief of Staff for the Office of President and Chief Operating Officer for Nationwide Insurance. And trust me, this is a wonderful interview for anyone who wants to learn from other people. How did they become successful? What are the things that they implemented in their life, the principles, the habits, the disciplines that they have? Every week, we're dropping a high level person to let you know they're going to open up to you and say, hey, this is how I became successful. These are the things that I implemented in my life. These are the habits. These are the principles. These are the disciplines that I have in my life that help me to create the success that I've had and to help me to create the success and build wonderful teams around me, because we all know that we can't do it alone. We need a team, even if it's a small team. So this week, the clip that I'm going to play you is all about standards. I asked my guy Timothy about standards, and this is what he had to say. Let me just play the clip. I feel like anybody who wants to do anything at a higher standard, carry themselves at that high standard, is an advantage for you right now, because I think that the bar is low. Do you believe having that standard and being willing to want to be impactful directly influence how you were able to navigate the corporate structure to be where you're at today?
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. Standards are not, in my opinion, as high as they should be. Now I sound old school, like my parents or my grandparents. Now I feel like I sound like them because I think generationally, we always say that, wow, things used to be, or standards used to be. So I hold a very high standard for self, which is critically important. And I never really erode that.
Now, he did say something in there that was comical. I think everybody, every generation always, oh, it used to be this way, it used to be that way. And the standards are no longer the same. I think there is some truth to that. And I think it's pretty funny because I remember when my parents used to say it to me, and now here I am saying it. Hey, the standards are not what they used to be. But that's not what we're really getting into today. We're talking about personal standards. And before we talk about personal standards, of course, we got to define what the word standard means. And standard, the origin meaning of the word is a weight, a measure, or instrument by which the accuracy of others is determined. But now let me just interject. Take out one word and put in two other words. It's a weight, measure, or instrument by which the accuracy of yourself is determined, your standard. So let me break that down for you. A standard is, hey, in the United States, we use pounds as a standard. So we can all get on a scale, and now we can all have an accurate measurement of our weight. It's a pound. Or we have miles per hour. We know how fast we're going. So everybody can have an accurate measurement. So now let's take it back to your standard, your personal standard. Do you have a personal standard? And I really want to challenge people who don't feel like, hey, I'm not progressing enough. Hey, I'm not winning enough. I'm not getting enough wins. That's my question to you. Do you have a standard? One of my Des-isms that I have is standards over feelings. I don't care what I do. I'm always going to do it at the same standard, or I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to decline. I'm going to just tell the people, hey, I can't get it done, because I refuse to have my standards questioned. So it's always standards over feelings. Even if that day I don't feel like doing it, if I committed to it, I got to do it at a standard. And I have it written here in my stationery, in my purpose statement, my life's purpose statement. It reads the first 5 words, with excellence being the standard. So first of all, I'm challenging you and asking you, do you have a defined standard that you can measure yourself on? It's all about you. It's all about your standard. So it is that for me is what I call your standard operating procedure, your SOP. I heard this quote some time ago. The way you do anything is the way you should do everything. That's how you develop a standard. That's how you develop who you are known for, your own personal brand. Like my name and my word, there's a standard that I want that to be looked at. How I develop and maintain relationships and interact with people, there's a standard with how I do that. My level of production, there's a standard. The process of greatness, which I always talk about, execute the details in excellence consistently over time. That is just a standard that I hold myself to. So if I'm not there, I can know, hey, the accuracy of who I say I am is not present at this time. And one of the things that I'm never worried about either, that is if people like me. I have a standard there because the way I go about my day, the person who I am and how I interact with people and how I carry myself, I interact with people and I carry myself in a way that I am a likable person. But if people don't like me, that's okay. My standard is to always be respected, not necessarily to be liked. So do you have that standard? And then here's what you ultimately gain from having a standard, having a SOP, a standard operating procedure. Ultimately, you gain trust. First of all, you gain trust in yourself. What do I mean by that? When you have a way of doing things, when you have a standard, you mitigate the fear of failure and it allows you to take more calculated risks. It allows you to take more chances because you know how you do things. And if you have high standards, you begin to develop a trust within yourself that you can get things done at a high level, even if these things may be foreign to you. Your standards is going to dictate what you believe you can and cannot do and the amount of trust that you have in yourself. And that's the first thing. It mitigates that fear of failure. And we talk about that a lot in this episode of Principles of Winning. Again, you got to check that out. And then the last thing that you develop when you have that standard, when you have a well-defined standard operating procedures, is you develop trust in others. And when you gain trust in others, first you gain trust in individuals, then you gain trust in the teams that surround you, then you gain trust in the larger groups that you may interact with, and then you start to finally develop and advance and elevate to gaining the trust of the trust of the masses. And once you get to a point where you've gained the trust of the masses, then it's ball game over, because once you gain trust, you got it all. And if you can gain the trust of a tribe, the masses that follow you, man, now the world is yours. You have truly accomplished something. But it all goes back to the standard. And the standard is a weight measure instrument by which the accuracy of yourself, or as it says in the definition of others, is determined. Standards over feelings. The way you do anything is the way you should do everything. And let me play the clip one more time. I feel like anybody who wants to do anything at a higher standard, carry themselves at that high standard, is an advantage for you right now, because I think that the bar is low. Do you believe having that standard and being willing to want to be impactful directly influence how you were able to navigate the corporate structure to be where you're at today?
Oh, absolutely. And you're right. Standards are not, in my opinion, as high as they should be. Now I sound old school, like my parents or my grandparents. Now I feel like I sound like them, because I think generationally, we always say that, wow, things used to be, or standards used to be. So I hold a very high standard for self, which is critically important. And I never really erode that.
last thing I'm gonna say on this is when I played in the NFL, and particularly with the Chicago Bears in 2010, I played in 3 games, but they brought me back that year as and relegated me to the fourth tight end, and I didn't dress for what we played 16 games. No, we played 19 games that year. I didn't dress for 16 games. And I asked for a trade that year. I asked to be released, and not to be released, but to be traded. And I was told that year, because they were paying me really good money to sit on the bench. And I was told that the reason that they are keeping me on the team is because they understood that if any of the guys that they were playing in front of me went down, I could come in, no questions asked, and maintain the level of play from all the other tight ends. And it was because I had developed a standard on which I operated, which led to trust amongst the organization to keep me around and pay me starters money, even though I was on the bench. Now, there's a lot of other politics and everything else that goes into that, but that's another story for another time on Principles of Winning. Hey, I appreciate you guys joining for this live, but we have an episode that is dropping at 12 noon in about 15 or so minutes. Go check it out. I got all the links below. Hey, subscribe to my YouTube page, subscribe to the podcast website. I appreciate you guys. Let's keep doing big things by adhering to our principles of winning.